The door clicked softly behind us as we entered the quiet of our new home, the sounds of the wedding party and city life fading into the distance. The grand atrium where the reception had been held now felt like a faraway memory. In its place, the silence of our condo, as my mother, Eleanor, had continuously reminded me for the last few months settled around us. I kicked off my heels. The weight of the day finally lifting as my feet met the cool, smooth hardwood floor. It had been hours in those tortuous stilettos, but as always, my mother insisted, "Osha, you need to look perfect." No compromises. I had tried to argue that comfort should come first, but she wouldn't hear of it. "You must look flawless for your big day," she had insisted, and so I had complied. Beside me, Malik, my new husband, stood tall and composed, expertly unbuttoning his well-tailored suit. He was a striking man, 38, with sharp features and deep brown eyes that always seemed to hold a quiet understanding. His hands, long and graceful, moved with a certain finesse, as if they were used to conveying thoughts through gestures. Over the last 6 months, I had grown accustomed to this form of communication, silent but deliberate. My mother always said it was a small price to pay for such a respectable man. I turned to offer him a cup of tea, as I had every evening since we began our courtship. But just as my hands rose to sign the invitation, Malik did something unexpected. He turned to face me, his eyes locking with mine. In a voice clear, deep, and unhesitating, he spoke the words I never thought I would hear from him. "Osha, we need to talk. We need to have a serious conversation." My world stopped. My heart raced, hammering in my chest, each beat louder than the last. My knees weakened, and I had to steady myself by gripping the nearest wall. The man I thought was mute, my husband, was speaking. His voice was deep, clear, and real, nothing like the strained whispers or written notes I had grown used to. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Malik took a small step toward me, his hand reaching out. But I pulled away instinctively, a sense of fear sweeping over me. Regret flashed in his eyes, but he didn't retreat. "Osha, I'm sorry," he said, his voice full of genuine remorse. "I know this is a shock, but we need to talk. You deserve the truth." Without a word, I rushed into the bathroom, slamming the door behind me. I sank down onto the edge of the tub, my hands shaking as tears spilled from my eyes, ruining the makeup I had spent hours perfecting. Malik wasn't mute. All this time, he had been pretending, playing a role. And my mother, Eleanor, had she known? Had she been part of this deception all along? I tried to make sense of it all, to recall the months we'd spent together. Every time Malik had written me a note, every gesture he had made, every time I thought I saw a sadness in his eyes, I had believed it was part of his condition. But now I was forced to question everything. Every smile, every wordless moment. Was it all just a performance? A test? The knock on the bathroom door brought me back to reality. "Osha," Malik's voice came through, quieter now. "I know you're angry, and I understand why. But please, just give me a chance to explain. I owe you that much." I didn't answer. I couldn't. My mind was a blur, my heart heavy with confusion, staring at my reflection in the mirror. I saw the bride I had once dreamed of being, the one who would walk down the aisle, filled with excitement and hope for the future. Instead, the woman staring back at me was unsure, her face streaked with mascara, her lips trembling in disbelief. I had married a man I thought I knew, and yet now, everything had changed in an instant. The dream of a happily ever after felt distant, even impossible. I was 28 years old, working as a high school teacher, and all around me, life was moving on. Friends were getting married, having children, and here I was, struggling with this new reality. I lived with my mother, who had always been the one to guide my decisions, ever since my father's death. She had always believed that stability, security, and practicality should come before love. And when she had introduced me to Malik, an accomplished businessman, refined and financially secure, I had trusted her judgment for the past 6 months. My mother had insisted Malik was perfect for me. He's been through a lot, she would say, but he's a good man. And he needs someone like you, Osha, someone steady, someone who values family. But now, here I was, alone in the bathroom, with a man who had deceived me, and a mother who had orchestrated the lie. I heard Malik's footsteps outside the door again, followed by a soft knock. Osha, please. Let me explain, he pleaded, his voice tinged with desperation. But the words didn't reach me. How could they? How could I trust anything he said when everything between us had been built on a lie? I closed my eyes, trying to find some clarity. I had always imagined my life differently, meeting someone organically, falling in love, sharing a future built on honesty. But my mother had always believed love wasn't enough. Stability, security, and care, she had told me. Those are the things that matter most. I had been skeptical at first, but somewhere along the way, I had convinced myself that love would come with time. Stability, after all, was what I needed to feel safe in a world full of uncertainty. And now, here I was, wondering if that belief had been a lie all along. The minutes dragged on in the bathroom. I couldn't move. My body was frozen in place, my mind a tangle of disbelief. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I took a deep breath, wiped away the tears, and opened the door. Malik stood on the other side, waiting, his face an unreadable mask. He took a step toward me but stopped, respecting the space between us. Usher, he began softly, I owe you an explanation. I crossed my arms, the anger bubbling up again. An explanation? For what? For lying to me? For pretending to be someone you're not? He nodded, his face weary. I never meant for it to go this far. When I first met you, I was scared. I had just gotten out of a painful marriage, and I didn't trust anyone anymore. My ex-wife betrayed me, and I promised myself I would never fall into that kind of trap again. I watched him carefully. And so you thought pretending to be mute was the answer? I asked, my voice trembling with frustration. Malik took a step closer, his gaze never leaving mine. It wasn't my idea alone. Your mother was involved. She helped me come up with the plan. I felt my breath catch in my throat. My mother, I whispered, the disbelief growing. She knew about this. She was part of it. Yes, Malik said quietly. She suggested that if you agreed to marry me, despite the fact that I couldn't speak, it would show me that you were marrying me for the right reasons, not for the promises I could make, but for who I am as a person. Your mother wanted to make sure I wouldn't be deceived again. I staggered back, my mind reeling. How could she have done this? How could she have betrayed me like this, all in the name of protecting me? I never wanted to hurt you, Osha, Malik continued. But I didn't know any other way to protect myself. I thought I was doing the right thing. I stood there in silence, processing his words. The betrayal stung more than I had imagined. But there was something else, something deeper. He was afraid. And maybe, just maybe, I could understand that fear. But could I forgive him? Could I forgive my mother? The room felt smaller now, the silence between us thick and suffocating. I had no answers, no easy solution. The only thing I knew was that this marriage had begun with a lie, and I didn't know where to go from here. The living room felt strangely colder when I stepped away from Malik. Maybe it was the air conditioning humming too loudly. Or maybe it was the weight of what I had just learned settling over me like a dark, looming cloud. The soft glow of the chandelier cast long shadows across the walls, and for the first time, I felt like a stranger in my own home. A home I hadn't even chosen. I walked toward the wide window overlooking the city. Thousands of lights shimmered against the darkness of the night, each apartment, each tiny glowing window, holding a story. Some probably beautiful, some tragic. And here I was, trapped within one I didn't even recognize anymore. Behind me, Malik stood still. He had always been quiet, but now the silence between us was sharp, heavy, almost suffocating. It wasn't the gentle quiet I once thought defined him. This was the silence of truth hanging uncomfortably in the air. Osher. He started, his voice soft, almost hesitant. I closed my eyes, leaning a hand against the cold glass. Just give me a moment. He didn't argue. He didn't push. He simply stayed where he was. My thoughts spun like a storm. My mother, Eleanor, had always believed she knew what was best. She had always reminded me that she sacrificed everything for me after Dad died. The grief, the struggle, the responsibility she carried alone. Sometimes her love had felt heavy, but I had never doubted that it was love. Until now. Now there was doubt. Sharp, bitter, raw. I turned slowly to face Malik. His expression held a mixture of regret and something else, vulnerability. Maybe. It was strange seeing vulnerability in a man who always seemed so composed. You lied, I said quietly, my voice shaking. You and my mother. You both decided that testing me was acceptable. It wasn't like that, Malik replied, stepping toward me but stopping when he saw me tense. It was never about testing you. It was about protecting myself. And your mother. She believed the same. She didn't want you ending up with someone who would break you the way she believed she was broken. My jaw clenched. So you pretended to be mute. For months. You let me believe something so deeply personal, something so life-changing, was true. Yes, he admitted without sugarcoating it. I know how it sounds. I know how it feels. But at that time, it felt like the only way, and now, I asked sharply, now that the truth is out, what do you expect, Malik? Understanding? Forgiveness? He inhaled deeply, a long, steady breath. No, I don't expect anything. I only hope. Because regardless of how this started, I'm not pretending anymore. Not about who I am. And not about how I feel. My heart stumbled at his last words, but I didn't let it show. I was too hurt. Too overwhelmed. What do you feel? I asked bitterly. Do you even know what's real anymore? Or what you feel is just another part of your plan? Malik didn't flinch. What I feel, he said softly, is that somewhere along the way, I stopped pretending. I found comfort in your presence. Peace even. You made me want to be honest. You made me want to speak again. The first words I've spoken in years were to you. I blinked. What do you mean, years? Malik ran a hand through his hair. I didn't lose my voice physically, Osher, I lost it emotionally. After my divorce. After everything my ex-wife did, the manipulation, the betrayal. The way she used my vulnerability against me, I shut down, completely. I stopped speaking to protect myself from giving anyone else that power. My anger faltered. Just a little. It wasn't a game, he continued. Not at first. I truly didn't speak. To anyone, even my family. Your mother was the first person who saw through the silence and told me. Maybe someone quiet, gentle like you could understand me without forcing me to talk. I swallowed the lump in my throat. But you did talk to me, tonight, after months. You made me want to, he said softly. You brought something out in me I thought I had lost forever. The sincerity in his tone tugged at something inside me. I hated that it did. I didn't want to feel anything, not sympathy, not softness, nothing. Not right now. Even so, I whispered, you chose deception over honesty. He nodded slowly. I did. Then how? I asked, voice cracking. Am I supposed to believe anything you say now? A soft, pained silence fell between us. Finally, Malik took another small step closer. I don't expect you to believe me today. Or tomorrow. All I can do is give you honesty from here on. You can take as long as you need. My chest tightened again. Your mother thought she was doing the right thing, he added quietly. But I shouldn't have agreed. I shouldn't have let it go this far. I looked away, blinking back the ache in my eyes. I need space. Malik's posture straightened. He nodded once. Whatever you need. I don't want to share a room with you tonight, I said, the words trembling out. That's completely fine, he replied gently. The guest room is prepared. I'll sleep there. The maturity in his voice almost made me feel worse, like somehow he was being the calm one while my emotions spun uncontrollably. As he walked toward the hallway. He paused before entering the guest room. Without turning around, he said quietly, Osha, I know you probably hate me right now, and you have every right to, but I want you to know, I've never respected anyone more than I respect you. And if earning your trust again takes months or years, I'll wait. Then he walked into the guest room and closed the door softly. The moment he disappeared, the tears I'd been holding back finally broke free. I sank onto the couch, burying my face in my hands as the weight of everything crashed over me again. The lies, the deception, my mother's betrayal, and the confusing ache that came with Malik's confession. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. I didn't know how to face my mother. I didn't even know how to face Malik. All I knew was that my life, the one I thought I understood, had changed forever, and this was only the beginning. Morning light crept into the living room slowly, as if unsure whether it was welcome. I had barely slept. My eyes felt heavy, my head ached, and the couch beneath me was stiff and unforgiving. Every time I closed my eyes, Malik's voice replayed in my mind, clear, steady, real. And my mother's betrayal cut even deeper. The sun was already rising by the time I dragged myself up. My dress from the wedding still lay on the back of a chair, wrinkled and reminding me of everything that had gone wrong in just a single night. My stomach twisted each time I looked at it. I splashed cold water on my face in the bathroom, watching as droplets slid down my cheeks. The mirror reflected back a woman who looked exhausted, emotionally drained, confused. Hurt. This wasn't how a first morning after marriage was supposed to feel. A faint sound broke my thoughts, the creak of the guest room door. I froze. I didn't know how to face him. What to say. Whether to look him in the eye. Malik stepped out of the hallway slowly, wearing a simple black tea-set and jogging pants. There was no trace of the composed businessman from last night. He looked tired too, eyes slightly red, hair messy, expression weighed down by something close to guilt. He didn't move any closer. He simply offered a slow nod. Good morning, he said quietly. I swallowed. Morning. Silence stretched between us again, that silence that used to feel comforting, back when I thought I understood him. Now it felt heavy, foreign. I made breakfast, he said finally. Just tea and toast. Nothing fancy. I didn't know if you'd want anything else. I didn't know if I wanted to eat at all. But the effort, the gentleness in his tone, made something shift inside me, not forgiveness, but recognition that he was trying. Thank you, I murmured without meeting his eyes. He nodded once. Turning toward the kitchen counter where two mugs of tea sat steaming, I hesitated before stepping closer. The scent of tea was familiar, warming, grounding. For a moment, it almost fooled my heart into forgetting the chaos. As I reached for the mug, Malik spoke again, softly, carefully. Osha, I know today won't be easy. I don't want to push you, but there's something you deserve to know. Something important. I stiffened. Another secret. No, he said immediately. Just context. I sighed. Go on. He rested his hands on the kitchen island. Not too close, not too far. Your mother didn't do this to trick you. She was terrified. Afraid you'd make choices out of loneliness instead of real compatibility. Afraid you'd be hurt by someone who didn't value you. My chest tightened. So she decided to lie to me? That's her idea of love. He shook his head slowly. I'm not defending her choices. I'm explaining what drove them. I looked away, gripping the warm mug a little too tightly. I trusted her, I whispered. I trusted both of you. I know, his voice was barely a breath. That's why I'm here. Not hiding. Not running. Whatever happens next, I'll accept it. His sincerity struck me again, frustratingly so. I need space, I said, firmer this time. Not forever. Just today. I need time to think. You can have all the time you need, and I want answers, I added, forcing myself to look at him. From her, from you. From both of you, Malik nodded. Then talk to her. I won't interfere. A knot formed in my stomach. Facing him was one thing. Facing my mother, that was a different storm entirely. I'll call her, I said. After I've eaten, he stepped back, giving me the room I asked for. I'll stay in the guest room unless you need me. There was something quietly respectful about that. And something achingly sad. As he walked away, I finally sat at the dining table, the warm mug cupped in both hands. The silence in the room felt safer now, not suffocating, just still. My mind drifted to my mother. Eleanor always had a reason for everything she did, and she always believed her reasons were right. She thought she understood me better than I understood myself. Maybe she believed this too, this lie was somehow protecting me. But I was no child anymore. After a few long sips of tea, I finally reached for my phone. My hands trembled slightly as I scrolled through my contacts. Stopping on her name made my chest tighten even more. I inhaled deeply, steadying my nerves. Then I pressed call. It rang once, twice. On the third ring, she picked up, her voice bright, cheerful, oblivious to the storm she had created. Good morning, sweetheart. How was the night? How's the new home? Isn't it beautiful? Did Malik, Mom? I interrupted, my voice sharp without meaning to be. We need to talk. She paused, completely silent for a full 2 seconds. Then her tone shifted. Careful now. What's wrong, Osha? I squeezed my eyes shut. You knew. You knew Malik could speak. You knew everything. Silence again. Heavier this time. Osha, she said slowly. Let me explain. No, I cut in, my voice trembling. No excuses. No justifications. Just tell me why. Why would you keep something like this from me? Why would you let me believe a lie? Her breath caught on the other end. Because I didn't want you to make the same mistake I did. Because I wanted you to be with someone who values you. Someone stable. Someone who wouldn't hurt you, and you thought lying to me was the answer. I whispered. Sometimes, she replied firmly, a mother must choose the path that protects her child, even if the child hates her for it. My heart cracked open. I didn't respond. Couldn't respond. Her voice softened. Come home, Osha, let's talk. Face to face, I stared at the tea in my mug, steam fading. Just like everything I thought was certain. Malik watched from a distance, giving me space, not pressing, not pushing. And I realized I stood between 2 truths, 2 betrayals, 2 people who claimed their lies came from love. I whispered into the phone, I'll think about it, and I ended the call. The phone call ended, but the echo of my mother's voice lingered in the silence of the kitchen. Her words clung to me like heavy chains. A mother must protect her child even if the child hates her for it. Protect, control, lied, manipulate. At this point, I no longer knew where one ended and the other began. I looked up and found Malik leaning gently against the hallway wall. He didn't interrupt, didn't pry, didn't try to finish the conversation for me. He simply watched, carefully, respectfully, as if he understood that one wrong word would shatter me all over again. I'm going to see her, I said finally. Breaking the silence as I set my empty mug down, he nodded, slowly. I figured you would. I don't know how long I'll be gone. You don't owe me an explanation, he replied quietly. Your mother is. A big part of your life, was, the word whispered through my mind softly, painfully. She was a big part of my life. I didn't know what she was now. I grabbed my small handbag from the counter and hesitated at the door. Malik's eyes followed me, not questioning, just observing. as though cataloguing my emotional state like a fragile thing he didn't dare touch. "Usher," he said softly, just as I reached for the doorknob. I turned halfway. "What if she makes you upset? You don't have to stay. You can always come back." The words were simple, but the softness in them, the sincerity, made something inside my chest throb. I forced myself to look away. "I'm just talking," I muttered. "Not running." He offered a faint, sad smile. "I know, I just wanted you to know you're not alone." I didn't respond. Couldn't respond. So I left. The ride to my mother's house felt unusually quiet. Every red light, every turn, every familiar street corner seemed to pulse with memories, her laughter, her corrections, her strong opinions, her love, all tangled into a single web I wasn't sure how to escape. I pulled into the driveway slowly and sat there for a long moment, staring at the house. I grew up here. My father's laughter once filled the living room. His warm presence used to soften my mother's sharp edges. After he passed, everything changed. She became harder, more defensive, more controlling. Maybe she believed that was strength. Maybe she thought she had to be both mother and father. But still, she lied. Before I could talk myself out of it, I stepped out of the car and made my way to the front door. The moment I reached it, the door swung open. My mother stood there, still elegant, still composed, still carrying that air of authority she always wore like a second skin. "Osher," she breathed, reaching for my arm. "Come inside." I stepped past her without letting her touch me. The living room felt the same. The framed photos, the old rug, the scent of lavender she always used. A place that should have been comforting. But today it felt like a stage, where I suddenly questioned whether anything I'd ever seen here was real. She closed the door gently behind us. "Sit down, sweetheart. Let's talk calmly." I remained standing, calmly. "You lied to me, Mom." Her eyes hardened just slightly, a flash, a reflex. Control mode activated. "I didn't lie," she said with forced patience. "I protected you." My fists clenched. "No, you manipulated me. You let me believe my husband, my fiancé, couldn't talk. You let me build empathy, trust, a relationship on something fake." She exhaled sharply. "I gave you a man who treats you well, a man who respects you. Isn't that what you wanted?" "No, Mom, I wanted honesty." She stepped closer. "And where has honesty gotten you before? The men you dated, the ones who left you heartbroken, insecure, doubting yourself. The ones who saw your softness and used it against you." "Osher, I refused to let you repeat that mistake." I shook my head, tears welling despite my attempts to stay strong. "You don't get to decide what mistakes I make," I whispered. "You don't get to decide who I marry. And you definitely don't get to decide what truths I'm allowed to know." Her face fell. But only for a second. Then the steel returned. "He needed reassurance after his divorce," she argued. "And you needed someone reliable. It was mutually beneficial." My voice cracked. "Beneficial for you, maybe." Her expression softened, her voice lowering. "Osher, you're my only child. Everything I do is for you." A painful tear slid down my cheek. "Then why does it hurt so much?" She looked away, for the first time all morning, uncertain, shaken. "Osher," she said finally, quieter, "I didn't think you'd find out like this. I wanted to explain everything once your marriage was stable." "You mean once it was too late for me to change anything?" She flinched. I took a breath, gathering all the courage I had left. "I'm not a child. I'm not your project. I'm not something to fix or control. I deserved the truth, Mom, from you. From him. Malik loves you," she said softly. "That man would worship the ground you walk on. That man lied to me." I snapped. "You both did." Her mouth opened, maybe to defend herself again, but she stopped when she saw my eyes. This wasn't anger. This was betrayal, real, deep, raw. She closed her mouth, swallowed, and stepped back, for the first time in my life. I saw my mother not as a pillar of strength, but as a flawed human being who had gone too far. Osha, tell me what you want me to do, she said finally. Anything. I'll fix it. You can't fix this, I whispered. You can only stop interfering in my life. She froze. I picked up my bag, heart trembling. I'll stay with Malik for now. Not because I trust him, I don't, but because my marriage, my choices, are mine to deal with. Her eyes shimmered with pain. So you're choosing him over me? I shook my head. I'm choosing myself, and I walked out, leaving her standing in the doorway with regret pooling in her eyes. When I reached the condo, Malik was sitting on the couch, staring at the floor like he'd been replaying the night over and over in his mind. He looked up the moment I entered, his expression unreadable. You okay? He asked gently. I set my bag down, exhaling shakily. I don't know, he nodded slowly. Did she explain? She explained, I said bitterly. Didn't justify. And nothing she said made the hurt any smaller. Malik swallowed, guilt flickering in his eyes. Osha, I'm truly sorry. I stared at him, really seeing him, the remorse, the honesty, the vulnerability he didn't hide anymore. I'm not ready to forgive you, I said quietly. Or her, I understand, but I'm also not ready to walk away. His breath hitched, almost imperceptibly. I won't rush you. I won't expect anything. I need time, I said softly. And I need honesty. Real honesty. You'll have it, he promised. For the first time since the wedding night, the room didn't feel suffocating. It still hurt. But there was space now, to breathe, to think, to heal. Little did I know, the real secrets hadn't even surfaced yet. And what came next would change everything all over again. The air in the condo felt different after I returned. Not lighter, not heavier, just different. As if the walls themselves were aware of the shift between Malik and me. As if they, too, had been watching everything unfold. Malik stayed seated on the couch after my return, hands clasped loosely, posture stiff, but trying to seem relaxed. He didn't bombard me with questions. He didn't demand answers. He didn't push. That alone made something in my chest ache. I dropped my bag near the door and stood quietly for a few seconds, just watching him. The man who had lied. The man who had hurt me. The man who also waited. His eyes lifted to meet mine. Do you want something to drink? He asked softly. No, I said, I want clarity. A shadow crossed his expression, but he nodded. Then sit. Ask anything. I sat across from him, leaving space between us. Physical space. Emotional space. Space I wasn't yet ready to close. I need to understand your past, I said, looking directly at him. Your ex-wife. Your silence, your fear. Not the pieces my mother told me. Your truth. He inhaled deeply, not dramatically, not for effect. It was the slow, steady breath of someone preparing to tear open old wounds. I'll tell you everything, he said. But it won't be easy to hear. I still need to know. He nodded once. It started 5 years ago, he began, voice calm but tinged with remorse. When I married Sarah, I was young, ambitious, building my business. She was charming, clever, someone who knew exactly what to say and how to say it. I thought I had found the one person who understood me. He paused, his gaze drifting to the window as if looking into his past, but slowly things shifted. Not all at once, just in small, almost invisible ways. Comments that cut deeper than they should have. Manipulations disguised as concern. Control masked as love. I listened, silent. She wanted everything: influence, wealth, status. And she used me as a stepping stone. She isolated me from friends, lied to my family, convinced me that I was incapable without her. My stomach twisted. Emotional abuse wasn't loud, it was quiet, insidious, poisonous. One day, Malik continued, she accused me of ruining her life. Said she regretted ever marrying me. She screamed words I didn't even recognize as truth, just venom meant to break me. He swallowed, eyes flickering with pain he had buried for years. She said she wished I would just disappear. That my voice, my opinions, my existence were useless. My heart clenched. I didn't leave that day, he admitted. I stayed. I tried to fix it. I thought love meant endurance. But all I did was lose myself. His hands trembled slightly, and for the first time, I saw a crack in the convoyade he always wore. One night, during an argument, she said something that he stopped, voice dropping. It silenced me, literally. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. No sound, no breath of my own opinions. My voice had died. I whispered, Malik. He looked at me again, really looked. I didn't speak to anyone for almost 3 years. Not a word. It wasn't that I couldn't speak. I didn't want to. I didn't trust myself to. I tried to swallow the lump forming in my throat, and then your mother found me through a business acquaintance, he continued. She saw something broken in me. Something she thought you could help me heal. She believed your softness was strength. She said you would understand silence better than anyone. Silence, a word that had once felt peaceful, but now felt like a weight. She promised me that if you cared for me even without a voice, then maybe I could learn to trust again, to speak again, to exist again. By lying to me, I whispered, yes, he said simply. And that was the mistake. A mistake I agreed to because fear controlled me more than honesty did. I looked down at my hands, unsure what to do with the emotions swirling in my chest. You shouldn't have let fear decide for both of us, I said softly. I know, he replied, sincerity heavy in his gaze. And I'm sorry. But loving someone after being destroyed once, it felt impossible. My eyes lifted instantly. Loving. His breath caught, realizing what he'd just revealed. I didn't mean, yes, you did, I whispered. You said you loved me. He didn't deny it. He didn't look away. He didn't hide. Osha, he said quietly, I fell for you long before I even understood what those feelings were. Before I spoke. Before we married. Every moment you were kind to me without expecting anything in return. It brought pieces of me back. I felt my heartbeat quicken, not with anger, not with fear, but something far more confusing. But I broke your trust, he added. I know that, and I'm prepared to spend the rest of my life earning it back. My chest tightened. His words were raw, vulnerable, but vulnerability didn't erase betrayal. I don't know what I feel yet, I said honestly. I don't hate you. I don't fully trust you. I don't understand what this marriage even is right now, he nodded. Then we can take it one day at a time. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, Malik's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it briefly, and his expression changed. His face drained of color, his posture stiffened, his breathing shifted, shallow, uneven. I frowned. Malik, what's wrong? He didn't answer immediately. He just stared at the message as if it had ripped open something he thought was buried. When he finally looked at me, his voice was barely audible. It's from her. My body froze. Her, who, Sarah, he whispered. My ex-wife. A chill shot down my spine. What does she want? I asked, heartbeat skittering. He read the message aloud, voice trembling. I know you're married now. Congrats. But we need to talk. It's urgent. My skin prickled. My breath caught. My mind spun. Why now? Why today? Why after everything? Malik lowered the phone, eyes haunted. Osha. He whispered, I thought my past was dead. I didn't know she would come back, and somehow, deep inside, I knew. This wasn't just a message. This was a storm. And it was coming straight for us. The room went cold. Not literally. The temperature hadn't changed, but something in the air shifted, heavy and suffocating. Malik's eyes remained glued to his phone, as if the message from his ex-wife was a ghost dragging him back into a hell he barely escaped. I swallowed hard. Malik, what does she want? His jaw tightened, the lines in his face sharper than I'd ever seen. I don't know. But if she wants something, it's never simple. A knot formed in my stomach. The way he said it, the fear under the words, made me realize this wasn't just a woman reaching out. This was someone dangerous to him. Someone who had broken him so deeply he stopped speaking for years. And she was back. Do you want to talk to her? I asked. No, he said immediately, too quickly. But if I ignore her, she'll find another way. What do you mean? He exhaled shakily. Sarah doesn't accept silence. She never did. She pushes, demands, manipulates until she gets what she wants. My heart thudded. Then what should we do? He looked at me, finally looked at me, with eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. We face it, together. The word together hit something inside me. Unexpected, unwanted, but real. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed again. Another message. His hands trembled as he picked it up. You owe me answers. Don't ignore me, or I'll come to your house. My breath hitched. She knows where we live. I asked. He closed his eyes, shame flickering across his expression. She used to track everything about me. My business, my family, my moves. I cut her off. But she always finds ways. He set the phone down, running a hand through his hair. I didn't think she'd ever try to contact me again after the divorce was finalized. What does she want answers for? Malik hesitated, and that hesitation scared me more than anything. Malik, I said softly, you can tell me. He looked at me, his eyes dark with memories he didn't want to relive. Osha, there's something about my marriage to her. Something I never told anyone, not your mother, not my family. A cold wave swept through me. What is it? He opened his mouth to speak, but his phone rang loud, sharp, violent in the quiet room. The name on the screen made his face turn white. Sarah calling. My heart raced. Don't answer it. I whispered instinctively. He stared at the phone. Frozen. It kept ringing. His breathing grew uneven. His fingers twitched. His entire body was reacting. Physically, the way someone trapped by trauma reacts when cornered. It's just a phone call. I told myself. But it wasn't, not to him. Finally, the call stopped. Silence. But then, a message appeared. He read it silently, eyes widening. What does it say? I asked, stepping closer before I realized what I was doing. He handed me the phone. The message was simple, chilling. I know the truth you're hiding. Tell her before I do. My blood ran cold. I looked at Malik, heart pounding. What is she talking about? He sank down onto the couch as if his legs could no longer support him. His hands gripped his hair, elbows on his knees, the posture of a man cornered by his past. Osha, he whispered, voice breaking. I wanted to tell you before. I just didn't know how. Not after everything with your mother. Not after our wedding night. Tell me what? I demanded, throat tight. His eyes met mine. Haunted, terrified, broken. I wasn't just abused emotionally, he said slowly. The last 6 months of our marriage. She wasn't stable. I tried to leave multiple times. She didn't let me. She threatened me. Threatened herself. Threatened my business. I felt the air leave my lungs. She didn't want a divorce, he continued. When she realized I was finally done, she tried to trap me. How? He swallowed hard. She told people she was pregnant. My heart froze. Was she? He shook his head. No, there was no pregnancy. She lied to everyone, her family, her friends, lawyers. But the damage was done. People believed her. I covered my mouth with trembling fingers. She said I abandoned her and our baby, he whispered. That I was heartless. That I ruined her life. I became a villain in her story. My reputation suffered. My family suffered. My business suffered. And the truth. Did it ever come out? Eventually, he said. But not before she destroyed everything she could. When I finally left, she screamed that she'd never let me move on. That if I ever tried to be happy again, she'd come back and ruin it. He laughed bitterly, but it wasn't amusement. It was pain, and now she knows I'm married. She probably thinks she's losing control again. I sat next to him. Unable to process the weight of everything he had been carrying alone, he turned his head. Eyes meeting mine. "Osha," he said softly. Voice trembling. "There's more." My heart flipped. "More?" "Yes," he whispered. "One last thing I never told you." His breath shook. She didn't just silence me emotionally. She nearly ruined my mental health. She pushed me to a breaking point where I stopped speaking. Not to protect myself, but because I believed my voice didn't matter anymore. A sharp ache stabbed my chest. I didn't trust myself, he confessed. I didn't trust others. And when your mother approached me, I agreed to her plan because I was scared. I thought if you saw me as broken, you wouldn't expect much. You wouldn't hurt me like Sarah did. I felt tears prick my eyes. I didn't lie because I wanted to manipulate you, he said, voice raw. I lied because I didn't think I deserved love, or honesty, or anything real. I exhaled shakily. Then why tell me now? Because she's right, he whispered. You deserve the truth before she twists it, before I could respond. The doorbell rang sharp, sudden, echoing like a warning. We both froze. I slowly stood. Heart pounding. Malik remained motionless. Breath caught in his throat. The bell rang again, 3 times, urgent, demanding. Is that her? I whispered. Malik looked toward the door. Fear, anger, dread all swirling in his eyes. Then he nodded once. She's here. The doorbell echoed through the condo again, sharp, relentless, a sound too loud for the calm interior of Malik's carefully curated home. The air felt thick, almost electric. My pulse thudded in my ears, my throat tightening painfully. Malik hadn't moved from the couch. His eyes were fixed on the door, wide with a mixture of dread and resignation. I swallowed. Malik, I whispered, we don't have to open it. His jaw clenched. If I don't, she'll cause a scene. She always does. He stood slowly, not with confidence, not with strength, but with the weary heaviness of someone who had been running from a shadow for far too long. Another chime, insistent, agitated, prepared for war. I stood beside him instinctively. He glanced at me, startled. You don't have to be here, he said softly. I don't want her dragging you into this. I shook my head. I'm already in it, Malik. His eyes softened in a way I wasn't prepared for, but before either of us could say another word, the doorbell rang again, this time followed by a loud, impatient knock. He exhaled shakily and walked toward the door. I stayed behind him, close but not hovering. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for the handle. Osha, he murmured, almost pleading, no matter what she says. Remember what I told you. Remember the truth. I will, I whispered. He opened the door. She stood there, Sarah. The woman who shattered him. The woman who dragged him into emotional silence. The woman whose shadow had loomed over our marriage from the very beginning. She was stunning, in that polished, icy way successful manipulators often were. Dark hair pulled into a sleek bun, sharp cheekbones accentuated by expensive makeup, a fitted coat that screamed money and intention. Everything about her was controlled, calculated. Her eyes swept over Malik first, a quick, cold assessment, then landed on me. A slow, cruel smile curved her lips. Well, she drawled, so it's true. You really did move on. Malik stiffened. What do you want, Sarah? She stepped inside without being invited, brushing past him like she still owned him, owned the space, owned the air around him. I instinctively stepped back, giving her room, or maybe giving myself distance from her suffocating presence. I think congratulations are in order, she said mockingly. Married so soon after our divorce. I guess my silence meant more to you than I thought. Enough, Malik snapped, surprising me. Say what you came to say. Her eyes flickered with amusement, the kind people get when they enjoy watching someone else crumble. Oh, Malik, you were always so dramatic. She turned her gaze to me. Has he told you everything? I narrowed my eyes. He told me about the abuse. The lies, the fake pregnancy, the manipulation. Her smirk faltered for the first time, so he finally opened his mouth, she said with a scoff. How touching. Malik stepped protectively in front of me, not aggressively, but instinctively, as if every muscle in his body was ready to shield me. What truth are you talking about? I asked, my voice firm. Sarah lifted an eyebrow. Oh, dear, you think he told you everything? No, he leaves out the parts that make him look weak. Or guilty. Malik echoed, anger tightening his voice. She turned toward him sharply. You think you can rewrite our history? Make yourself the victim? You think you're the only one who got hurt? He flinched, barely, but enough for me to see. What exactly are you implying? I demanded. She folded her arms, eyes gleaming. Let's talk about the real reason he went silent. The final fight. The night he broke down and refused to speak another word, Malik's entire body went rigid. His throat bobbed. Sarah, stop, but she didn't. Oh, he doesn't want me to. She said sweetly. That's exactly why I should. I looked at Malik, searching, questioning, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. In our last fight, Sarah said slowly, savoring every word, I told him something that destroyed him. What? I whispered. Malik whispered again. Sarah, enough. But she continued, I told him he was incapable of being a father. My breath hitched. You what? Sarah shrugged casually. He always talked about wanting kids, a family. But I knew he wasn't ready. So I said things I knew would cut him, deeply. Malik's voice cracked. You told me I'd be a terrible father. You said any child of mine would be miserable. She smiled, a cruel, poisonous smile. And look, it worked. It silenced you for years. My stomach twisted. The cruelty in her tone. It wasn't human. You're vile, I whispered. Disgusted. She flicked her wrist dismissively. Please, let's not pretend Malik is an angel. He had his flaws. He suffocated me in that marriage. You used him, I snapped. You manipulated him. You broke him. She rolled her eyes. Do you think he told you the worst part? I frowned. What worst part? Sarah turned her full attention to me, a predatory focus, as if this was the moment she'd been waiting for. The truth is, she said slowly, he didn't just lose his voice because of me. He lost it because he believed he didn't deserve to speak. Because he believed that the world, including you, would be better off without hearing him. Malik squeezed his eyes shut. Stop, he whispered. No, she said. She needs to know what she married. I stepped forward, surprising both of them. I know exactly what I married. Sarah arched a brow. Do you? Yes, I said firmly. I married a man who was abused. A man who was manipulated by someone heartless. A man who deserves peace, not torment. Her expression twisted with irritation. You think you're saving him? She asked. You think you're any different than me? So naive. He's fragile, weak, he'll break again. It's in his nature. No, I said sharply. He only breaks around people who break him. You, Malik inhaled shakily. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Her control slipped, just for a second, revealing something desperate beneath the cruelty. You think you can heal him? Fix him? People like him don't get better, she spat. They fall apart. They cling. They suffocate. And eventually, they destroy you too. I stepped closer, unafraid. Get out, she blinked. Excuse me? You heard me. My voice didn't shake this time. Get out of our house. Her face twisted. Anger, disbelief, insult, all mixing into something dark. You have no idea what you're doing, she hissed. You'll regret this. He'll hurt you the way he hurt me. He didn't hurt you, I said coldly. You hurt yourself with your own cruelty. Before she could speak again, Malik took a step forward, steady, resolute, stronger than before. Sarah, he said quietly, leave. We're done. For good. Her gaze darted between us, rage rising like poison. This isn't over, she snapped. You'll see. You can't run from the truth. But she turned, heels clicking sharply as she stormed out. Malik shut the door behind her, his hand gripping the handle as if anchoring himself to something solid. When he finally turned to me, his eyes were glassy, overwhelmed, broken wide open. "Osha," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I didn't want you to see that side of my past." I stepped toward him slowly. "Malik," I said softly, "I'm not scared of your past." He looked at me, expression vulnerable, terrified, hopeful all at once, but I continued gently. "I'm scared of what it's still doing to you." His breath hitched, and before either of us could say anything more, his phone pinged again. A new message. He looked at the screen. His face went pale. He handed me the phone with shaking fingers. The message was from Sarah. "You think you won today. But Malik never told you the real secret. Ask him who he visited a month before your wedding." My stomach dropped. Malik's eyes widened in pure panic. "Asha," he whispered, "I can explain," and everything inside me twisted. The message burned on the screen like a threat, or a prophecy. "Ask him who he visited a month before your wedding." My fingers trembled slightly as I handed the phone back to Malik. He didn't take it. He didn't move. He just stood there, frozen, staring at the message like it was a blade aimed at his throat. "Malik," I said quietly, "who did you visit?" He swallowed hard, so hard it seemed to hurt. His eyes darted to me, then away. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing once, twice, then stopping in front of the window. "Osha, please listen before you decide anything." His voice cracked. Actually cracked. I stepped closer, heart pounding. "Just tell me the truth." He closed his eyes, inhaled shakily, and turned toward me. "A month before the wedding, I visited my therapist." I blinked, thrown off. "Your therapist?" He nodded slowly. "I'd been seeing her for several months, trying to heal, trying to unlearn everything Sarah drilled into me, trying to get my voice back, my confidence, my sanity. That wasn't what I expected, and I urged." He let out a long, unsteady breath. "She suggested I talk to someone from my past, someone neutral, someone who knew me before Sarah, to ground me." My heart tightened. "Who?" He hesitated. "An old friend," he finally said. "Her name is Vivian." Vivian. The name pricked my nerves. "In the past," he continued softly, "Vivian and I were close. But we never dated. We were just friends who lost touch after Sarah isolated me." My stomach eased slightly. "But only slightly. So why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "Because," he whispered, "I didn't want to feed your mother's fear. She already questioned everything I did, already insisted on controlling the wedding details, already doubted every woman I'd ever crossed paths with. I didn't want to give her one more reason to meddle, one more reason to think I wasn't ready." He looked straight at me, pain in his eyes, but honesty too. "And because," he added, "I was ashamed. Ashamed that I needed help. Ashamed that I wasn't healed. Ashamed that I wasn't the strong partner you deserved." My breath hitched. "That's why I didn't tell you," he said quietly. "Not because I did something wrong, but because I was afraid you'd see how broken I still was." I stared at him, this man who had been carrying silent wounds for years. Wounds he didn't choose. Wounds someone else inflicted. And slowly, the pieces began fitting together. "What did Vivian tell you?" I asked. He looked down at his hands. "She told me that healing isn't a straight line. That silence doesn't make me weak. That vulnerability doesn't make me unworthy. She told me it was okay to start over." He let out a trembling breath. "And she was the one who told me that one day I'd find someone who wouldn't use my silence against me." His eyes lifted, straight to mine. "And then I met you." My chest tightened painfully. His voice lowered to a whisper. "I didn't fall in love with you because of a plan. I didn't marry you because of your mother. I chose you because you saw me when I couldn't see myself." I stared at him, really stared. At the man who lied. The man who hurt me. The man who also survived unimaginable emotional trauma. The man who tried to protect himself the only way he knew how. The man who was still learning how to breathe freely without permission. Malik, I whispered, did you reconnect with Vivian romantically? He shook his head immediately. No, never. She's married, with a daughter. We met in a cafe for 1 hour. She hugged me once at the end, nothing more. I didn't hide it because of any romantic reason. I hid it because I didn't want to give anyone, especially your mother, another reason to doubt me. I let out a shaky breath. And Sarah twisted it. He nodded. She wants to ruin anything good in my life. She always did. Silence stretched between us. Not hostile, not fragile, just real. So I asked softly, what do you want now? Malik looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. Something raw, open, humble. I want to earn your trust, he said. Not demand it. Not expect it. Earn it day by day, and if I can't give it back. I whispered. He closed his eyes, then opened them again, steady and sure. Then I'll still stay. Even if all I am is someone who supports you. Someone who cares for you. Someone who stands beside you without expecting anything. My breathing hitched. No more lies, I said firmly. None, he promised. No more tests. No more hiding, no more secrets, never again. And if your ex-wife comes back, he stepped closer, gently taking my hand for the first time since the wedding night. If she comes back, he said quietly, I won't face her alone. I'll face her with you, honestly, openly, as partners. The word partners made something inside me soften. Finally, slowly, I squeezed his hand. Not forgiveness, not love. Not yet, but a beginning. His eyes glistened with something warm, relief, gratitude, maybe hope. So what now? He whispered. I took a deep breath, one that felt like reclaiming my voice. My boundaries, my choices, now, I said softly. We heal, together, as two broken people learning to build something real. Malik nodded. Tears slipping silently down his cheeks, proof of everything he'd held in for years. And for the first time since our wedding night. I stepped forward, not because I had to, not because of obligation, but because I wanted to. I reached up and wiped one of his tears away with my thumb. Osha. He breathed, voice trembling. SHH. I whispered gently, this is not our perfect beginning. But it's our honest one. He closed his eyes, leaning into my touch. Fragile and brave at the same time. And in that moment, in that quiet, imperfect, painfully real moment, I felt something shift. The foundation that had broken was starting to rebuild. Stronger, slower. Together.